Hello and greetings. I'm the guy working on a top-down roguelike shooter set in a horror-adjacent fantasy setting. I'm doing it solo, handling both the visual and mechanical aspects of the game. Follow me as I document these video checkpoints of my progress on the project Pistolhand, name pending. I'ma start with the visuals, since there isn't much to do here anyway, as of now. Smoke effect is a simple particle system. Make it fade away and grow in size with time. Slap the references in. It's glued to the gun. That's not right. Simulate it in world space instead, you idiot. Adjust speed and size of the smoke. I'm going to spawn bullets at the 0-0 position of the character, as if they were coming out from inside his chest. You think that's dumb? You think they should come out of the gun? Well, it's a common issue in video games. You either solve the gun barrel to cursor problem if you're going for a realistic simulator, or you just shoot bullets out of your face if you need efficiency and simplicity. For top-down Diablo-likes, it's usually the latter. I've made a mistake of not angling the hand with the gun closer to the center line. As a result, it kinda looks off. I'll address that issue later, when I'll be focusing on visuals and animations. For now, the bullets will fly out from the main character's chest. And it's fine, everything's fine, no need to panic. I grab some free sounds from the internet and adjust them a bit in Audacity. I need at least 2 for when the gun is shot at full charge and at not a full charge. Right, let's talk about that. The gist of the game is that instead of dealing with finite ammo, your gun has a charge bar that fills up on its own over time. At full charge you do full damage. At not full charge you deal less damage. At no charge at all you sit with a thumb up your ass, I don't know. This is a good opportunity to figure out the UI layout and how to set up my graphics so that they can stretch the correct way. Trial and error time. This looked fine as I drew it, but when scaled down, this is better, but still not it. Oh yes, that's it. This is it. That's what I wanted. Slim and functional. Perfect. Perfect for now, I mean. I'm scripting the bar's behavior in a generic way so that I may reuse it for other stats, like health and stamina. Let's make the bar look different when it's fully charged. Do I make the bar yellow or do I make it glow? I like this more. I will add these notches for overcharge of the bar. Maybe they should be on the other side? I need to differentiate between automatic and manual shooting. When you hold the mouse down, you shoot in auto, but you have to wait for the bar to fill each time. When you tap the button, you shoot preemptively, faster, but with less damage. How do you deal with the input actions again?
And yellow is starting, which we don't have any yellow right now. It's waiting for me to...
Right, so you just manage your timings correctly. Make the tap trigger slightly sooner than the hold trigger. Wait, what the fuck is he doing? Wow! Alright, let's get something to shoot. Say hello to Melvin here. He's going to suffer for our sins from now on. Don't get too attached though, he is just a placeholder. Alright, collisions and animation triggers work fine. Now back to the bullets. It is time to deal with the pooling mechanism. In video game engines, at least in Unity, deleting and creating an object hits the performance more than just turning it on or off. In a game where there can be hundreds of bullets, effects, enemies or sounds blinking in and out of existence every frame, it is important to handle optimizations properly. And it works. Look at them pools. Another thing I could do is batch the bullet graphics together. Alright, even without batching, this isn't too bad. I have to account for bullets jumping around, splitting, ricocheting, dealing effects, all that stuff. So we need to optimize for a much higher bullet count than we will theoretically have. It is probably a good idea to batch what we can. If I raise the number of active bullets close to 2000, even that is enough to dip the frame rate a bit on its own. I don't think I want to make a game where you will shoot 2000 bullets at the same time, but still, let's batch it. Holy shit, it works! Look at all those batches! Jesus Christ, I'm gonna turn the sounds off for now, if you don't mind. I still need my ears for listening to... Another breaking point is the large number of enemies. Large number of bullets hitting large number of enemies. Taking a look into the profiler should help find the most egregious memory leaks, but I more or less know where they are. Lots of operations with lists, loops, walk in every frame, heavy collisions checks, yada yada. All of that is manageable, but there's also the performance hit from just rendering the bastards. Having up to 1,000 dummies just standing there is enough to drop the frame rate down to 30 FPS. Shooting them and triggering animations will drop it even lower. You can deduce yourself that when different effects, pathfinding and collisions come into the picture, this will quickly become unplayable. Unity's skinned mesh renderer has its own performance ceiling. You can nudge it up a bit with simple optimizations, but you're not gonna have thousands of enemies on screen without some clunky approach like baking animations in the meshes, or dealing with jobs system. Yeah, I'm just going to balance my game around a smaller number of enemies for now. I'm not getting into jobs for these projects. Remember the plan. Always remember the plan. Work with what you can do. Cut away anything you can't. Time to make a system for gun modifiers, items that increase stats like damage, bullet speed, add effects like burning or explosions, etc. Think of it as upgrades in any roguelike game. For now, I need only a simple placeholder with which to test the math. Ideally, I need some kind of a reusable structure which I could extend for other modifiers, like for health and dodging. I spent some time experimenting with Unity's UI layouts. I don't get how this scaling works. This isn't what I want. You know, all of this is placeholder anyway, so to hell with it. Now, to shove my modifiers inside. Cram it up. Come on. There we go. Seems to be working just fine, but this is the easy part. It just deals with the math. The difficult stuff begins when something modifies bullet's behavior, like a ricochet. Question. How do you make a bullet ricochet? Well, you could say, let it find the closest enemy. But what if the closest enemy is in the opposite direction of the bullet path? Would it not look stupid? Also, I'll have to cast a circle, grab all of the enemy colliders in that circle, then iterate through them in a loop to determine the closest one. Sheesh! Ay, that's a lot of calculations to do every single time a bullet, of which there can be hundreds active at a time, ricochets from a guy, of which there can be hundreds active at a time. Doesn't sound very optimized to me. Well, then you can retort. Let it find the enemy closest to the bullet's direction. That's more like it. Good job, audience. But how do I actually do it? Like, in the code. Finding ricochets by direction is easier, performance-wise, than by distance. It does not require looping through a list of dummies found in a radius and calculating which one is the closest. I think it also works better in players' favor. On the other hand, maybe it doesn't look as organic. Oh well, I'm gonna make a list of predetermined angles for these raycast fans to search for the ricochet candidate. They start loose in the front, just so that we don't waste compute power if another candidate is very close. And then they become denser and reach behind the initial direction. Right, let's test it out and... wait, why are they not finding the target right in front of them? Oh, I thought... so the raycast excludes the dummy if it begins casting inside of its collider already. I thought I knew that. Never mind. Now it works. Yeah. Look at them curve. Yeah. Okay, moving on. I've been thinking about how to distribute code and logic around, to try and predict optimization patterns. I need a lot of logic to handle various effects that bullets will give to the enemy, modifiers which change how bullets behave, and so on. But where do I actually handle all of this logic? On the bullet script? No, that's stupid. 1,000 bullets flying around, running through hundreds of lines of code? Nah. Okay, then where? On the gun script? Yeah, maybe, but it will be a hell of a long script. How about I separate the logic into parts? Gun bar script will handle recharging and depletion of the gun bar. Gun hit script will handle what happens when the bullet hits the enemy. Gun expiry script will handle what happens when the bullet dies. You get the idea. All of my modifiers will be split around based on this distribution. This should work? Ricochet is the one I was unsure of how to do. It's pretty much ready now. It performs well. As for the rest will deal with health, poise, and pushing around the enemies the bullets hit. I need proper functioning enemies for that. And I guess that is what I will be doing next.